I've just
All right.
noticed my hands are so dry. Been washing my hands like 20 times a day. They're just getting like old man hands now. It's not good.
But do you need to be that vigilant if you're isolating anyway? You don't really
So,
have contact with other people. It's
nah,
just
but
built
we're
in.
still getting a lot of stuff arrive via mail. Because we've switched up our business model quite a lot. We'll talk about this later, but like Pia's getting all of her work sent to our house now.
Mm.
So I have to deal with mailmen like 5 times a day.
Okay. Well, that's something I want to talk about too.
Yeah.
But I've just clicked record, so welcome everybody. Thanks for joining. We've got Kane Vato here. He's got his hat on. It's a very special occasion. You know, he's
Only
dressed
because I
up.
haven't shaved my head and I look like Einstein. If I don't shave my head, it just grows out here. It doesn't look good.
I guess I haven't seen a photo or anything of you ever with hair.
No,
So I'm
I
actually really quite
deleted the
curious.
internet. Deleted that.
Does it exist? Is there images of this existing on the internet I can find?
Maybe no, not online actually.
Okay.
I was very diligent. I think my parents have photos. I have got a photo of me with dreadlocks as well, which is very weird.
Wow. Okay,
Little
that's
short ones.
something we need to see at some point.
I'll dig it out. I'll send you a photo. I think it's back home in the UK though.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. I thought Kate would be a great person to talk to in this interesting time because he is a fellow travel influencer, fellow Qantas ambassador as well. Um, and he has a bunch of other interesting like endeavors too. He has a swimwear business, everything. And so in a lot of ways, he's affected by, not being able to travel, as everyone in the tourism industry is. So I thought he'd be a good person to talk to, especially because a lot of Kane's work is through creating content that's all based around travel, which is something that is just gone completely now. And
pretty much everything we do is location based. So this is possibly my worst nightmare.
Yeah. But you are someone that, has so many ideas zipping around. And I feel like you're someone that always is trying to, be lateral thinking and look at situations and work out, all right, this has happened, but now what can I do in response to that? Or what has this specific thing changed? What opportunities will actually rise up that weren't before because of this? So they're all the reasons I thought it'd be great to have a chat.
It's been a very interesting time because we actually took our last international trip first week in December, and that was for a job in Fiji. And so straight after that, it went straight into Christmas, and I got really sick over Christmas time. So I didn't even get to go to see the family or anything. For pretty much the back 2 or 3 weeks of December, I was on that bed, not doing a single thing. I couldn't move. Pia went to her family without me because I was like that ill. I don't know what was wrong with me actually. Maybe it was the coronavirus, but I don't think it was. And then in January, the bushfire started.
Maybe you were patient zero.
Yeah, don't say that. The bushfires got really out of hand in January. And so we were actually scheduled to take 3 trips across January into February. And we made the choice to postpone those to later in the year because it just didn't feel right that all of Australia was on fire. Like friends that I know were losing their homes and houses and people were losing their jobs, and there's me and Pia gallivanting around the Maldives. It just didn't sit well with us. So we actually put all those jobs on hold and we started helping out with the bushfires instead. So we did a few things around there with people that we know, worked with a lot of charities, and just kind of, honestly, we were just going to shops and buying all the food we could get and driving them to places that needed the food that couldn't get it down south of Sydney, which it seemed like the right thing to do. And just kind of as soon as that ended, we then thought to ourselves, well, let's plan for this next year because this is not a good situation for Australia. Climate change is happening. We've got to plan for this. So we actually we took a first aid course and got first aid qualified, and then we started our volunteer firefighter training. and we did, like the
No.
first part of it started, and then coronavirus hit. So now we've just started to become like have that in our back pocket that we are volunteer firefighters, but obviously that's all on pause now as well. But when everything happened in Australia, we really noticed that we spend a lot of time outside of Australia promoting other locations to our audiences, but actually Australia is a beautiful place that really needs help now. So before the coronavirus hit, we'd already made a decision kind of internally that we were going to really focus on Australian travel, on Australian destinations more than anything else. Not saying we wouldn't travel, but we really wanted to work on promoting Australia as like the best place on earth, because I really believe it is. So I guess now that the coronavirus has hit, and I think a travel ban's probably going to be in place for a while, once we're allowed at the house again, I think we're going to really just get back to that and work on Australian destinations more than anything else, you know?
Mm. It's been a pretty tough time for Australia this year,
Yeah. It's
and I
very
guess
easy to forget that the bushfires happened.
exactly, and that wasn't that long ago, and I'm kind of in the same position as you, I think, as you guys, because I kind of took a little break over December, just small break, and then January hit, and then same as you, I thought now's not the time to be self-promoting and gallivanting around.
Well, you did all
So
the art sales as
yeah,
well. You
so
were trying
I put on a print fundraiser,
Mm.
and it was wasn't the hugest idea, but then it kind of picked up steam, and it ended up being taking over my entire month, basically running that and having to like keep running to the printer and packaging everything, and I did it all myself with a little bit of help. But that took all of January, and I was like, okay, that was meant to be my break time, but I did what I could to help.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to get back into it, in February, and then slowly got back into it, and now this is hit. So I kind of feel like I haven't worked properly for about 3 months. I haven't
Yeah,
done
I'm the
any
same.
like intense work. I've done enough to get by, but I always thought, okay, well, the rest of my year is going to be like really crazy, so I'm allowed to have this time off. And now it's all just flipped, and
Now it's going to be crazy in a different direction.
yeah, and it's tough, and it's really tough this time. And I think it was just such hard timing for everybody, because everyone was so keen to support and fundraise and donate to the bushfire appeals. And now I bet everybody's thinking, I probably could use that
That
little
money.
bit of cash, because I don't have any more coming in for a while.
I know.
So yeah,
It's
real
very interesting.
real
Like
tough
we've
time.
seen, I think I can speak for everyone that works in this industry. Probably you're the same as well. Like our work hasn't necessarily been cancelled, but it's definitely been postponed. Like every one of our clients has gone, look, we really want to work with you, but let's circle back in October, or let's circle back in July, which is great, but also you've got to get to July, you've got to get to August with the money you've got in the bank, right? So it's all about kind of working out, all right, what can I do now? What initiative can I start without looking, I don't know, looking bad? But we've all got to still make money and work, or one job seeker.
Yeah. What is yeah, I think everybody's now just in this zone of, I feel like the initial kind of panic mode, or not panic mode, the shock zone is kind of over, the shock phase where it's like, shit, no money, like this is terrible, what am I going to do? And now people are switching to thinking, okay, this is kind of for the long haul now. Like,
How long
what
were you
can
in
I
shock for?
actually do? For me, not that long. I think you're probably the same, and I think what has like served us well in our careers, which is very risk heavy, is
Yeah.
being able to like look at different situations and just like analyze, what, just make a pragmatic analysis of the
Yes.
situation.
You know
So
what's funny? When I saw this stuff happening initially, like in early Jan in Wuhan, I immediately thought, okay, it doesn't look good over there. If the same thing happens in Sydney, what do I need? And I went and bought a tent, some like tools to make fire, some water filters. I was like, if I've got to go live out in the sticks in the Blue Mountains for a few months, what do I need? And my car is just full of camping gear now. So like worst case scenario, if the city went crazy, I could still like live in a tent. but Pia won't. Pia's not having a bar of it.
I can see PM usually make a little cameo there in the corner.
Pia, come say hello.
I'm usually up here.
That's as far. I think she's doing yoga.
Well, at first I just saw Pia's legs, like, but they weren't moving, and I thought it looks like Pia, but it also could be a mannequin, and I wouldn't put it past you to have a random mannequin in your house.
Doing my at-home exercise.
It's so hard to get motivated when you're working at home. Hey.
Yeah. Well, you've been at home for quite a while now.
Yeah, it's been a this is week 4, really? I think week 4.
In an apartment.
I mean, it's cool. It's not a problem. I think everyone has to deal in their own way. It's just it's just a bit hard because where we live is right in the middle of the city. So every day I have to walk the dog twice a day. So getting out onto the street is it's like running the gauntlet, trying to avoid like random drunks and stuff like that. It's a bit stressful, but it's all right.
Well, since so much of what you do is, creating travel content, and a lot of it is on YouTube, how are you shifting? Obviously you can't go out and film travel vlogs. So are you finding that you're creating less, or are you changing the kind of things that you create?
It's really interesting because the reason I asked you about how long were you in shock for, when it finally hit us that, flights were cancelled, our kind of international revenue streams were just cut short, and we weren't allowed to leave our house. I reckon it was a full week of just sitting here, just like trying to be productive, trying to do stuff, and then just picking up the PlayStation and just realizing, oh man, I've been playing this for 4 hours now, and not actually being able to get my brain into that working gear. It was very, very odd. I'm out of that now, thankfully, but it was a good few days. What we're focusing on now, see, our brand's changed a bit over the last year. Since we got married, Jared did our photos, by the way, if you haven't seen them. They're really nice. But since we got married, we got a new group of audience come in that followed me and Pia as a couple, if that makes sense, rather than travelers. That's kind of an alternate genre on YouTube. Like, people do actually like following family vloggers as well as travel vloggers. There's all these kind of different groups. So we've really had to ramp up that aspect of things. So once I got over the initial shock of what was happening, we've tried to do a vlog every other day, which is way more frequently than we'd normally upload onto YouTube. Normally we might do, traveling 3 different countries in a month. We might only upload 3 times in the month. Now, I think in the last 10 days, I've uploaded 6 times, and there's another one going up in 4 hours, another one going up tomorrow. So thankfully, YouTube does provide kind of a revenue stream there as well. But we're just having to knuckle down and twist it a little bit. And hey, this is us in quarantine now. So if you want to watch our quarantine vlogs, like, go watch us on YouTube. And that's kind of how it's going to be until the government tell us otherwise.
Have you found that, like, what are
you're a freelancer?
What are the statistics looking like? The same amount of people watching stuff on YouTube? Is it more? Is it less?
It's difficult because that really depends on so many things. If, like, when we went to the Maldives, for example, that video became trending in the Maldives. And I don't know why. I guess everyone in the Maldives wanted to watch what it was about. So that video went and got like 12 million views. Typically, we average about 25,000 views a video. This set of videos over the last kind of 2 weeks is probably sitting up slightly higher, about 40 or 50,000 views a video on average. So that's good, except because we're using the word coronavirus in the video, YouTube demonetizes all the content. So there's no revenue stream there.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I have to appeal every video and say, hey, can you please put the ads back on that one? But that doesn't matter. So I think this is a point where Pia and I are just using this opportunity to really just create, because we like to create without the constraints of any clients, which is quite a beautiful thing. It's like we've been free from any restraints and we can just do what we want. So,
yeah,
that makes life a lot more fun.
It's a slightly different field, but for photographers, I've always been, advocating that they focus, especially for social media, that you focus on, your personality and things that make you unique. And it's not just about the photo. It can be if you want, but if you want to adapt in times like this, and especially for social media, you got to include yourself in there, because that's what sets you apart from everyone. And that's, and obviously that's evident with you guys right now. You can't go and show off beautiful destinations anymore, but people aren't really watching just for that. They're not watching to see like just pretty places all the time. The reason they're watching is because they like your personality, and they like the interaction between you and Pia, and like that's why they're following you. It's not because of all the other stuff. Is just like the set dressing. It's cool. They just want to see what you guys do in the Maldives. They're not watching like 100 videos on the Maldives. They're watching the one that you made.
Yeah, maybe that's true. I have noticed that since we've been doing the kind of the at home kind of, we call it the self-isolation vlogs. Since we've been doing those, the comments that we're getting in the comment section, they're really quite heartfelt. And I think it's nice. People are enjoying is the wrong word. People are happy to see that there are other people in the world like them that are, feeling great about the situation. Obviously everyone has good days and bad days, but if you're in self-isolation and you're living on your own, it can be a bit crappy, So I think people are enjoying the fact that they can see, okay, there's another couple that had a bad day. Oh, today was a good day. Oh, tomorrow's going to be, they're doing a challenge or whatever. And it's, we're all getting through this together. And I think that's the most important thing. This whole situation is really it's really unifying a lot of people from a lot of walks of life, which I kind of think is great.
I think that's why these Zoom talks have been like really good. We've been doing them for a couple of weeks now, but it's just really relatable to see, other people in the same industry, and maybe somebody who you thought was always in this unreachable spot in the industry that you look up to, and then realizing, wait, they're talking about the exact same problems that I have. So maybe it's okay. It's not just me struggling here.
I think this whole situation has really leveled everyone off. Not whether it's right or wrong is another story, but I'm the same. Like when I look at people that I see completely out of reach, you'd imagine they're financially sound or whatever the situation may be, and you realize, oh wow, they're in the same situation. We're all in this together. I think it's quite nice. It's unifying. I think it makes everyday pass a little bit easier.
Well, like what you just said about leveling, it's something we've talked about like quite a number of times on these, because I've started forming the view that this big shock to the system is a great leveler, because the people that were doing the best before this have had the most to lose. Yes. Whereas if you're just starting out, you haven't like lost you probably haven't lost as much opportunity as other people have. And I think now's like such a great time. If you were an emerging creative and you really wanted to hustle, there's a lot of opportunity right now, because there's, people are looking for like more interesting content. People can't go around and gallivant outside. So it's all stripped back, and it comes down to how creative can you be at home.
Well, that's it, because I was going to say, once we're all kind of allowed out again, everyone's starting, especially in the creative space, other industries not so much, but in the creative space, everyone's going to be starting from the same point, from literally your front door. So the question is, how do you go from your front door to where you want to be as a creative, and what are you going to do until that time? And if from now until that time, if you just hone your creative art and just get good, practice what you do, and just get better and better and better, when we all leave the gate, like kind of metaphorically speaking, it's going to be a great time. There's going to be so much creativity flourishing. It's going to be cool.
And I think, and I think if you can be unique and innovative right now in this time right now, I think the chance of people seeing that is going to be way more higher than it would have been 3 months ago.
Well, I've seen so be creative in a beautiful location, isn't it? Like you can literally go to a epic, I don't know, mountain, take a photo.
Well, it's just what like the kind of stuff I do. Just find a cliff and get someone to stand on it and run far away, take a photo. It's not like crazy, but now nobody has that anymore. So the true creativity is what's going to rise up. And I've seen like lots of really funny things, you know, and the stuff that people love seeing right now is content that is super creative and collaborative. You know, you see all the singing on the balcony videos, and I saw like Ed shared this stop motion indoor skiing thing that somebody
I
made.
saw
That was,
that.
it
Climbed
was really,
Everest, did
yeah.
that, climbed that down.
And that's the kind of stuff that people are really appreciating now, because everyone is on the same level. Anyone could have done that video if they wanted. Everyone has the same kind of stuff like at
Well,
home.
that was just a GoPro stuck to the ceiling, I think.
Yeah.
And then
So
just most of it.
yeah, and doing something like that right now, you know, is going to take off way more than, say, when everything's back to normal and there's 10 million things coming at you. Right now, like, it's all been narrowed down. And the other thing is, like, I think people are spending way more time on social media and on their phones because there's less to do.
Yeah.
But as well, I wanted to ask you this, like, from a brand perspective as well, because you obviously have your swimwear brand. Is still swimwear
and activewear, and
yeah.
this is the really annoying thing. The reason I took December, kind of a lot of December off work, was to launch our menswear in January, and that kind of all got put on hold. And we get all our fabric from Italy, so obviously that's all on hold too.
Yeah.
So
but I think so you've got like an interesting perspective, because you can see things from the influencer side of things, but as well as from a brand perspective.
Yeah.
So from a brand perspective, what's your strategy now? Is it better to kind of keep quiet and not really not try and sell things at this time? Is it a bit off to do that, or is now the time to, you know, still get messaging, you know, just change the tone of the messaging, but is now actually a good time to, I don't know, you know, push out content, but in a different way?
So
I
mean, there's two parts to that question, right? How should your tone of voice be in this situation, and also should you be selling? That's kind of they're the two kind of main things, right? Firstly, should you be selling? Well, I've seen a lot of brands get a lot of backlash because they're firing out EDMs. Obviously, they're panicking a little bit. They're trying to generate sales when maybe it was a bit insensitive. But ultimately, we're now all of us understand we're in this for the long haul. We're going to be here for a while. Shopping is a great pastime for a lot of people, if I want a better word. And I think it is about how you handle that tone of voice, because I'm like you. Most of my friends are in the creative space, so none of us know when that next paycheck is coming from, because we're freelancers, we're self-employed. However, I have got some friends that work in banking, in finance, in insurance, things like that. Other than the fact they now work at home, their life is the same, except they're taking home the same pay packet. Their rent comes out, but now all that money that they would spend either going to the pub or going out with friends or going on holiday, that's now just building up in their bank. So I'm finding this weird disparity where people that have real jobs, as I like to call it, they're spending more money than ever on online shopping, because they've kind of got nothing else to do on it. Like Saturday afternoon, you'd normally be at the beach or at the pub or drinking out with friends. Now your only option is to go on to do some shopping, really. So I think it's all about how you handle your tone of voice, because you've now got to be sensitive to the fact that a large chunk, and I think the stat I saw in Australia was around 40% of people are kind of a little bit struggling right now, which is a huge number. So you've got to be sensitive to that group of people that don't know what next month holds, but also understand there is a group over here that have more money to spend than they ever did have.
That's really interesting. That's tough.
It is tough. And obviously that will change. I have a friend who has been saying their job's safe. And then today it's like, oh, maybe the job's not safe. So everyone's in this kind of place where we don't quite know what's happening. But if you don't advertise and those online stores don't keep busy, and I'm not talking about mine right now because mine's not functioning right now. I'm talking about other online stores. If they all held back and didn't sell, they're actually contributing to the downward slide. Right now, we need Australia, every country needs as many businesses to stay functioning as possible so the economy doesn't tank.
Mm.
You know, so there's a balance to be drawn, I guess.
Yes, I suppose it's yeah. I suppose the message is keep going, but the tone of voice has to change. You have to be more sensitive.
We've just got to be sensitive.
Just sensitive the situation. It's interesting seeing like how different businesses are responding to this. You're probably the same, and you've in the last couple of weeks you've got 50 emails from companies that you didn't even realize had your email, and it's all, we understand, we're with you, we'll support you. And like, I don't, like, you didn't need to send that email, like, don't. And it's ended up probably being more annoying for me for somebody to, unless it's something like an initiative or a project or a fund that they're starting. I'm finding that a lot of businesses and brands are sending out quite meaningless.
They're quite, I see a lot of the EDMs are quite patronizing. And it's like, you don't need to tell me that you're thinking of me. Thanks. I'm thinking of you.
It seems more like you seem to be wanting to remind me that you still are there, and all it's really influencing me to do is to unsubscribe from the email list.
Yeah, it's a gentle nudge, isn't it? I always get those emails saying, I know what you're doing. You're reminding me that, oh, if I wanted to buy that microphone now, it's a good time. But actually, I'm not going to. But I guess that marketing guy has got someone, I'm just trying to see it from every angle, because that marketing guy who's sending out the EDM that might be tone deaf or might not, he's got a boss above him that is saying, what are we going to do? How are we going to keep our business going? So I think everyone's just in this, it's a brand new territory for everyone. And I think that's what's stopping me getting mad at brands that are being insensitive. Because honestly, nobody knows how.
Well, I think that's like another example of how a small business or a freelancer or a sole trader, of how they have an advantage in this time as well, because you're so nimble, you can make your own decisions. You can work out yourself what the right tone is. You don't have to run things through an executive who runs that through someone else who runs it to you.
Right.
Like, you can change really quickly what you're doing. Whereas big businesses or industries that are like really established, they can't be so quick with that kind of thing. They still have like all these big company structures and all this bureaucracy that means that, the message just gets muddled, and you do end up sending, some lowly person has to send out this email, and it's just, it's been like gone through 3 levels of management, and it just ends up being like a nothing thing.
Yeah, I find it interesting as well, because going back to the tone of voice and influencers that are still working, because there are obviously a lot of brands that are still fully functioning, brands that started off as e-com brands. Sure, they've taken a dip, but actually their structure was designed for this months and months ago. They didn't have retail stores. They never did face-to-face sales. So I'm seeing a lot of brands in that space that obviously they've taken a dip in their business, but they are still fully functioning. So when an influencer does a paid promotion on their social media, I'm seeing this split between people are going, oh my goodness, good for you. You've got work. I'm happy for you. Versus, I can't believe you're promoting that shampoo at this time of life. And it's like, well, would you prefer that I didn't promote that shampoo and then I was not able to pay my rent next month? It's all this weird balance. It's all about the tone of voice. Like, I'm doing a sponsored post later, I think next week, and I'm going to be blatantly honest in the caption and go, hey guys, I've got a paid post. I hope you don't mind, but this is it, and just be absolutely honest with them and say, I've got the work. I hope you are okay with me. First job in 2 weeks. Hope you're cool with that, and I think that honesty and that transparency is actually going to be what gets us through all this.
I think so. And I think it will start slowly shifting, because it has to shift back at some point. It's just how long it takes, because, all of these things still need to happen. Businesses still need to sell their products.
Yeah, absolutely. And whether you like it or not, money does make the world go round. And there are a lot of countries right now where that curve, I don't know if you're following the chart of how the growth is in every major country, but a lot of countries are starting to reach their peak and come back down now. So there are countries that I don't know where all our viewers are from, but there are countries that are way ahead of Australia and have kind of successfully beating this thing. And there's countries like in the US that are behind us, they still haven't reached their peak yet. So it is going to be weird over the next 3 to 6 months as certain countries come out of this a lot sooner than we do, and vice versa. That's also something to think about with work. Like, let's say country X is absolutely fine in 2 weeks' time, and they need you to go and photograph. Obviously, that wouldn't happen because of the travel ban. But you know, you have to take it, right? It's work. Like now, we're in a situation where it really is. We need to do these jobs.
How do you think social media will change through all this, or have you seen any changes occurring already? I mean, I guess, yeah. I haven't really thought about that too much myself either, but I guess like the first thing I've seen is, you know, people are spending more time on social media.
Oh, I need to show you something. Keep talking.
Okay. Yeah, I'm wondering, as you know, because you know, people are discovering new platforms. Like now's the time for emerging platforms to start rising as well. You know, no one knew what House Party was until a couple of weeks ago. So I think there's like new ways of sharing that might emerge. You know, more emphasis on live. Is that your screen time?
7 hours. I did a full working day on Instagram.
Is that today?
Yesterday.
But what were you doing on Instagram? What were you doing for 7 hours? Were you just scrolling through things or what? Right. So I mean, I guess that's, you know, that aligns with what we're saying. You know, so much more time on social media, so much more time to be influenced by things and to see brands and to, you know, that's.
The one thing I've noticed, and this is more the girls and the boys, because I think guys typically don't kind of spruce themselves up too much for photos, but I'm noticing that there's a massive shift towards the female influencers just being themselves, not trying to get that perfect photo, just literally just being more real and authentic. And I think people are really taking to that. The people that I see that are just being honest and open, rather than, because Instagram's always a bit of a fake version of life, right? It's the best bit. It's the highlight. Every picture is the highlight. And I think now we're showing the reality on Instagram, and that is becoming far more endearing. I'm enjoying following a lot more people because of that.
I guess this is like the big shakeup that has, because no one has ever wanted to spend all that time getting your makeup done and getting dressed just for like an Instagram photo. Like everyone is just doing it because everyone else is. So like this is the shift where like, oh, suddenly it's more acceptable, and then it's okay, and then it's actually more respected to be doing this. So you know, maybe that's a long-term shift that happens from all of this. You know, it's you see people sharing a more authentic side of things.
That would be nice. That would be a good outcome, I think.
Hey, I'm gonna open up. If anyone wants to say, I'm gonna do a little unmute on everyone, which sometimes is a disaster because people who have their speakers on and I can already hear something. I've just done mass unmute on everyone. So if anybody wants
Jared's headphones, all clap now.
So if anyone wants to throw anything in, like, feel free. Everyone's unmuted now. Mute yourself if you have any noise going on. Because we'll do another maybe 5-10 minutes. Does anyone want to have any questions about social media or travel or what? I don't. Let me just look at the names and see what everybody does.
Someone put a question. I didn't even see that in the chat. When producing images for the website.
When producing images for marketing / for your website, what do you find works better for the brand or product? A few hero images or a collective set of images telling a story of the brand? Do you want to answer that one?
I mean, I'm not as good a photographer as Jared, so even on my best day, I can only really ever get a few photos. So I'll go with a few.
Well, I think that's something that is you have different angles to different platforms, and that's something that's changed and changed over the years. Because back in the day, you just did need that one hero photo for the billboard or for the magazine ad or for whatever it is. And even when Instagram started, you still just wanted your one hero photo for your post. But that's all changing now. There's other ways to have complementary and supporting, stories. So I think, my strategy anyway, which I think is a good one, is that, if you're promoting something or if you want to tell a story, you still need to grab attention because there's so much stuff out there that you still need the hero to draw people in. So when I am doing something, that goes on Instagram as a post. That's like the hero, or that's the shot on my website. But now you have the ability to have your supporting content in like a carousel or in stories. So there's different channels for different things. And I think if you want to, show a collection or a gallery, that the place to do that is through stories and through a blog. There's different times you want to grab attention, and different times you want to do a slow burn. Natalie says, what's your policy on usage when it comes to images and video? That's pretty broad.
I've got answers to that one. So this is very interesting because a lot of the way that Pia started on Instagram was when people would pinch her photos and repost them. And initially I got real mad. I was like, you can't do that. That's terrible. Like, people would actually take photos of her. I remember one brand took a photo of her in a bathroom, in this beautiful bathroom in Bali, and they photoshopped a hair care product onto the sink and then used that as their ad campaign. And I was like, firstly, that photo is only 1080 by 1080 pixels. Why the hell are you using that photo as your ad campaign? So we got a little bit miffed by that. But then also a lot of her account grew because people would repost our photos. And as a result, people go, oh, what else has that person done? And they'd filter back to us because we're always tagged. And then that's how her thing grew. And similarly with YouTube, there's loads of my B-roll has been pinched off our YouTube channel and then re-edited together into longer, like 1 hour long videos that just have house music playing over it. And I think bars in Bali and Indonesia, they use them just in their clubs, just on the screens. And every one of those kind of dudes that's pinched the footage and re-uploaded it, they've always tagged us. And again, is it right? No, of course I would have preferred usage fees, but also it has helped my YouTube channel grow, which then brings in work other ways. So it's a very fine line, because I could go and copyright claim them all, because YouTube already tentatively copyright claims everything anyway. So if I wanted to, I can go, yeah, delete. But there's not really much benefit in doing that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I suppose it's different for what different industries that you're in. But yeah, in this digital age, you always have to weigh up those kinds of issues. There's been a few times.
You actually sell your art, you're just selling the print. So if someone steals a bit of random B-roll of my drone, it's not necessarily kind of like my bread and butter. But for you, your content and your photos are actually what you're selling. So it must affect you more.
Yeah, it's just this like internal like debate you have to have with yourself. Is it a good thing or a bad thing to have like more widespread exposure, but that diminishing the value of this image? And I think you just have to adapt with the times. I mean, unless you are creating the most unique piece of art ever, you have to, I mean, I'm very realistic in that most of the stuff that I'd shoot is not terribly skill intensive.
Yes, it is. I've tried to make
okay.
photos like you. It's really hard.
Okay, but this kind of thing factors into like my thinking, because like say I go take a photo of we go, like I was saying before, you go stand on a cliff at sunrise and I take a nice photo of it. It's cool, that has value, it's a great picture and you can license that out. Also though, 10,000 people have probably taken the same photo. So you got to factor that into like how you think as well, and what the worth of an image is. And, you know, this also comes into like whether people watermark their images or not.
Yeah.
And I'm always of the belief, don't watermark it. Because when I weigh up all these factors in my mind, I think I just want this to be a great image. Like the purpose of putting this image on Instagram is not for me to sell it to anybody, because that is like a low chance anyway. My purpose is to be like widespread exposure, a lot of impact. Putting a watermark on it affects that impact, so I won't do it. But there is a balance you can find, and there's a few services out there that can help you with copyright stuff. I don't know if photographers know about this or not, but the one that I use every now and then is called Pixie, I think, Pixsy, I think. And what you do with that is you connect your social media and your website to that, and then they do like a kind of like the Google image reverse search thing. So they look at all the photos on your website, and then they find out where those exact photos are appearing on the internet. And most of it, like, it picks up everything. So it's a bit of a nightmare for me to go through, because there's a million times where things like an actual photo of passenger that he has paid for and wants to get out there, like that would be on 10,000 blogs. So I'm like, that doesn't matter. I don't need to see that. And there's sometimes that your pictures have appeared on like the most random spammy like websites in different countries, blah, blah, blah. But every now and then you'll stumble upon a gem where someone has used your photo for a pretty obvious commercial purpose. And then they've streamlined the process. They have thing you can say, this image, I want to settle or issue a takedown for this instance. And they take a cut, they take a commission. But if they're successful, they go and approach whoever's using it and say, you need to give us this much money or we sue you, something like that.
We've done
and it's worked a couple of times. I've had a few successful claims where I've made not much, but I've gathered some money for like usage of my image.
Yeah, we've done a similar thing. A lawyer in the US reached out to us and was like, hey, don't know if you know this, but Pierre is the face of a nightclub chain over here. I was like, what? And again, same thing. When they sent me the photos, they were like screenshots or dragged out of Instagram at 1080 by 1080. So definitely not print quality. And yet they'd still used shots of us in like locations, or not me, Pierre, in locations. And they were like on the side of buildings saying, come in, two for one tacos tonight and stuff like that. It's like, what? And so he actually did some takedown stuff, and we got our fees paid for us from that, which was great.
Hey, we've got a couple of questions in chat, but I'm wondering, like, Leanne, do you wanna turn video on, or are you not able to?
Hi.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's always nice to
Wow,
meet you in person.
location.
I tried to put green screen back. Didn't really work out.
Kind of cutting through your face a little bit, but.
Hi, Kane. So my question is about YouTube. You guys are killing it on YouTube, but I find that platform, it feels a lot harder to grow and gain exposure organically.
Yes.
But obviously you guys have amassed an amazing following on IG. Did you guys use that to leverage your YouTube platform, or do you have any tips on sort of, just gaining exposure on YouTube and organic growth?
So it's a really interesting question, because I thought exactly the same thing a while ago. Because what happened was Pierre's Instagram grew very quickly for a number of reasons, but one of the main ones was Snapchat put one of her trips on the homepage, back when Snapchat had like this homepage thing where you could go and see what people are doing. And within 24 hours, she grew by, I think, like nearly 200,000, 100,000, something like that, in a day on Instagram. So we're like, wow, this is it. We're made. Life is brilliant. And so we kind of thought, okay, now's a good time to move that audience across to YouTube. But the thing you got to realize, I would happily browse Instagram and hit follow to 4 or 5 different people and not even think twice about it. But with YouTube, it's a far longer game, because I need to watch you for 5-10 minutes. I might like the video, but I may not subscribe to you. Even off the back of it, I go, oh, you know what, that was cool, I hit like. And I won't initially go, I'm going to subscribe and hit that bell. And as a result, we really thought that we would be able to go, hey guys, we're on YouTube now, go follow us. And we just assumed that everyone on Instagram would go, cool, and jump over to YouTube and hit follow. And as it happened, that is not the case whatsoever. I would say 0.5% of the Instagram audience jumped across straight away and went to YouTube. It's not really that sort of account. And then I spoke to the guys at YouTube and said, why is that? What is the situation? And they said, that's exactly what happens with everyone. And within Google, they view YouTube as a feeder network, a feeding network. I forget what the term is. But basically, if you're on YouTube, because you've watched content for like 10, 15, 20 minutes, you really feel connected to that person, right? You feel like, oh, I know that person. Like the vlogs that I watch, I feel like I know the people now. I feel like if I saw them in the street, I'd be able to go and talk to them. But just swiping past a picture on Instagram, I don't have that connection. So it's the same thing. So on YouTube, when you say, hey guys, I've now got an Instagram, I've got a TikTok, or go follow me on Twitter, in your YouTube video, people will actually take that call to action and go with it. And that's what Google mean by saying it's a feeding network, because it will spread out to other networks that maybe are a bit kind of more passive. So in terms of growing YouTube, it's been a slow burn. Like it's a lot more effort. Like an Instagram photo might take 10 minutes to take it, quickly change the color a bit and post it. A YouTube video is like a day of filming. I'm also a very slow editor. So that's like 7-8 hours of editing. So like a video might take like 18-20 hours in total. And then you've got the process of trying to get people to watch it and like it and then hit subscribe off the back of that. And I would say probably the way that we did that the best was with collaborating with people. So take your audience size, whatever that may be, and then find other creators that are within 5,000 or 10,000 of your audience size in either direction, and then try and see if they want to do a video. And then just every time you grow a bit, just keep moving your kind of plus and minus collaboration up a bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's great.
And that's worked pretty well for us. But honestly, like I would say one video went viral on YouTube after about 2 years, and then our account did this for about a month, and then it flattened off again. And now it's kind of doing this. But yeah, it's just about consistency with YouTube. Just pick a time you're going to upload and just keep doing it every week.
Yeah.
It's hard. I know it's demoralizing.
In terms of topics, other than your ISO content, like, were you just doing vlogs and more lifestyle based stuff, or how did you go about finding, what your audience wanted? And
previously to what we're doing now.
Yeah.
So we've kind of just very much gone with the flow with where the clients were, because we're still quite new to this whole thing as well. So we had a lot of travel brands offer us work and say, hey, do you want to come here? Do you want to come here? So that went in that direction. And then also Pia would get a lot of work come through from makeup brands. So our channel's a bit weird because we're a traveling couple, but then every so often Pia does her makeup tutorials or a hair tutorial or something like that, which a large chunk of the audience also love. So we're just trying to mix it up. Like I think we'll do another couple of vlogs this week, and then she'll probably do a hair tutorial for like something, I don't know. But yeah, we're just trying to keep it fresh, keeping it different every time, which is hard when you're in the same apartment now.
No, awesome. Thank you. Keep it up.
Thanks.
Gavin's written here in text, and I don't think he has video.
I've just messaged me his internet's dropped out, so he's...
Oh. So he's gone. But it's a good question anyway, and I'm recording this so you can see it later. So he said...
Pros and cons of a talent agency. So the agency I'm signed to is the same one that Pia's signed to, which makes a lot of sense because we often get booked on jobs together. So that, I personally can't see a downside. I'm a very bad negotiator. I would say I'm a pretty average businessman negotiator when it comes to price. So to have to talk to someone about an invoice fee and, hey, where's my money? Or this is going to cost $5,000 or this is going to cost 10 grand or whatever. I'm not very good at that. I really would just like to be told that I've got a job and go do it. So to have a manager who handles all of that, and literally when we were busy, I would just get like our Monday morning email would just say, hi Kane, you've got this, this and this to do this week, and here's the fee. And I'm like, great, cool, send me to work. And I really as a creative person, I love that because I don't want to do the negotiation. I also think that where I would get nervous talking to a big brand, my management talk to big brands all the time. So it's not nerve-wracking for them to pitch me out to a client that I would normally think is out of reach. So that's really worked well. I don't actually have any downsides to being managed at all. But I know a lot of people do. I think it's about finding the right manager and someone you can really gel with. I was very good friends with my manager for 8 years before she managed me.
I can see some potential downsides. I mean, I don't have management or representation, but I do have a colleague who acts as my agent for certain things.
Yeah.
So when I feel like there's something that needs more negotiation skills required than I have, then I will get her on board. But so for me, the reason I don't have representation is, firstly, I guess you need total trust in your management, because you might get your Monday morning email and they say you have to do this thing that's promoting I don't know, Donald Trump.
Yeah, I know.
And then you're like, hang on, I didn't sign it. So you have to, obviously that's an extreme example, but you have to have trust in that they're not going to ask you to do something or have been talking to a brand about something that you actually don't want to do.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. This one is more of a blurrier line, but the commissions that management takes. For my situation, I've always dealt with like my clients directly, and there is currently, well, who knows, that may change, but up until now, there's been no shortage of work kind of coming my way.
That's good.
So I can see that perhaps with the right management, they might, because a normal fee for a management take might be between like 15 and 30% of whatever the fee is. So in my head, yes, maybe their negotiation is better and they can actually bring in a fee that was going to be higher than the percentage that they're taking anyway. So maybe I make the same amount of money or more, even with them taking their cut. That's a possibility, but there is also the possibility that I'm already having all this work coming in anyway. So the fees I'm getting have to increase by quite a bit to make that management.
Yeah, for sure. I think again that goes to choosing the right management and the trust aspect. Like I said, we've known our manager for 8 years before working with her, which has just been the best because it wasn't a new relationship, as it were. I knew her, I trusted her, I'd seen her at other jobs, I knew how she operated, and she's great. So that was good. And thankfully, the fee that she's able to get for our work outweighs her commission. So it's still...
And also your mental stress, having to deal with all that stuff.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah, that's taken away. I would recommend like something that's like having my colleague on board for certain things has worked really well for me. So I'd encourage anyone else, if you have trouble, negotiating or working out pricing for different things, but you have somebody that is in the management or even PR, just somebody that you can send in as a third party. I think that's a good strategy, and maybe you're not at the level where you can have a manager full time.
You need that
good
cop,
face,
bad cop, right?
Yeah, I thought you were disagreeing, Kane. I was ready to fight you on that one. I saw your face. You were like,
no, you need that good cop, bad cop. And I think like a long time ago, no, I'm going back like many, many years ago, I used to have an email address that was just replied to by a fake name. So I would negotiate via a fake name to try and kind of I'm the good cop and the bad cop would be trying to push the price up. That works pretty well.
I thought about that, but I thought, man, if I get found out doing that.
I know. I was constant state of paranoia.
Like if they try and call a number or something. But no, it is good, especially so that's why I have my friend for bigger negotiations, because you might find a job come in that you suspect, you can negotiate a higher fee for because they're a big company, but you are scared to do the negotiation because you might end up just losing the job.
Yes.
So that's when it comes in really handy having management or a colleague who, can act as your temporary agent or management, because they can go in and say and fight on your behalf. They can also talk you up and hype you up and highlight why you're the perfect person for the job, which is hard to do for yourself, because it just looks
and
like
I think
you're
more
boasting
so,
and
more so than ever we
overcompensating.
need that, because there are a lot of really incredible creators out there that are just starting out that will happily do a job for free, which is frustrating, but also I understand. And so you need, I personally feel that having that middle person that can sell me for more than just the cost, it is beneficial, because there are people out there that are way more talented than me that will do a job for free because they just want to get their name out there. So there is always a balance with these things, I think.
And the benefit of having someone like go out instead of you is that they can suggest a higher price, and then when the client comes back and says no, that's actually not possible, so see you later, they can say, okay, well, I know Jared really wants to work with you guys. This is not his normal fee, but I'll ask him and see what he thinks. If he's willing to, if he loves the brand so much that he'll do it for a lower fee. And then everyone comes out, no burnt bridges, everyone's happy. You can, but if you were doing that all yourself, you can't walk back if you're the one negotiating. You can't say, you can't pitch this high price and then they say no and you say, no, I was only joking, I'll actually do it for this much. You can't do that. So that's when it comes in handy. Just having like someone else you can have fight for you, and B, you can blame things on them as well.
I've blamed Peter.
Okay, well, we've been going for an hour, so if anyone has any last thoughts, feel free to pitch it in. Otherwise, we will say, yep, I think we're all good.
Very much.
How do you not overshare? Where's the line with oversharing? So you mentioned a lot about you want to share your personality, and you say like in these downtimes, it's good to expose a bit more of yourself and more of your, I guess, day to day, and less of that like glamorous kind of side that we always see on Instagram. But where I find the problem is, what is considered like a little bit too much, especially if you've got a businessy side of what you're doing as well.
It's crazy, isn't it? Because that's such a good point, because the oversharing aspect, a lot of people want to see it. And I see a lot of the audience want to see the worst of you. They want to see you feeling bad and talking about it and blah, blah, blah. But also brands sometimes don't. Brands want a nice shiny ambassador. That's kind of flawless. So it's very difficult. I don't know. I've seen a lot of creators over the last few weeks that it's a bit cringe, to be honest. But also then I look at their audience and it's doing this. So it's like, well, I don't know. I don't know what's right. I think everyone's different. But you won't see me doing too much cringe, hopefully, in the next few weeks. What do you think, Jared?
Don't know. I mean, I don't share. I think you
don't need to answer that. I've seen you naked on a couch. So I've got your baseline.
Yeah, there's naked photos of me. I send naked photos to my friends as well in physical mail form. But I mean, I guess this comes into it because I think it's always important just to have this overarching like goal in your mind, which is like and what is it? Is it to get more exposure for yourself? Is it to whatever it is, like, is what I'm posting right now contributing to that or not? When Instagram stories first came out, everyone was so excited about it, but I definitely unfollowed quite a few people because they were so excited about Instagram stories. And I remember there was a really pivotal moment when I saw somebody. They were just sharing everything about their day, and it was just not interesting. It was adding no value. It wasn't like showing me a different side of a personality, whatever. It got to the point where she was filming her to-do list and just reading it out. And she was saying, okay, so today I'm going to have breakfast, and then I was like, no, like what? This is just wasting my time. So I think you always got to feel, and it's funny you bring up all the naked stuff, and like to at the start when I started doing stupid stuff like that, which was around the time of like the Steve Aoki prank And I remember I did a few pranks at college back in the day, and I put them up on as well. And at first I was really hesitant to do that because I thought, this is like personal life side. This might be ruining the business side. I want people to take me seriously. But over the years, you know, it's become more and more apparent to me that all that stuff is really good, actually. If as long as it's interesting, it's good to show your personality, because that's what sets you apart from somebody else. And at the moment, you know, and it's funny, it's a funny timing, because last week somebody tagged me in that push-up challenge that everyone's doing. That's really quite boring to look at on Instagram, but 2 people tagged me in it, and I thought, okay, can I do a funny version of this? And I made it last week, and it's me just like trying to do 1 push-up, but then having a flashback to Survivor when I had to do this plank push-up thing for 30 minutes straight, and then I fell down, and then I got voted out that night. So it was like my like flashback into like the
PTSD.
trauma of Survivor. Yeah. And then I made it, and then I watched it again. I was like, oh, it's actually not that funny. So I was like, nah, I'm not going to post it. But then today I thought, you know what, maybe I'll just post it, because like if anyone is following me, like if anyone like doesn't like this kind of stupid stuff, they're long gone already. They've already they've had their chance to unfollow me with the naked stuff, with all this Survivor memes, and like if you're still following, then you must like at least be impartial or enjoy the stupid side as well. So I think, you know, over the long run, I think it's good to share things that are different. I just think just not boring. I think that's the main thing. It just always keep it interesting, and in the long run, that will set you apart, and that will you'll hone your audience into people that actually just do want to see that stuff. And anyone who doesn't care, they're long gone anyway.
Cool. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Cool. Okay. I think we're good. How'd you find that, Kane? Are you a Zoom convert?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm going to just call everyone I know now. Annoy them on this one.
It's good. I think it's a good format for from having to get like a bit of input from everybody, and I find it like a lot more interesting. Like when Leanne turned a video on, instead of just having text coming in through like you would on Instagram Live or something like that. And the other reason I'm doing it on Zoom, because I see so many people doing Instagram Lives right now, and to be honest, it's kind of exhausting and getting a bit of fatigue from clicking on a live and just seeing 2 people talk to each other, like casual banter that has no value to anyone else. And like, why are you doing this? Everyone's just, I get it, everyone's searching for like new ways to do things, but a lot of it's pretty boring. So I thought, you know, I don't want to go down that route. I want to create the Zoom series. So if you have gone to the effort to download Zoom and type in this link, it means you actually want to hear what we're talking about. And we're not bothering everybody else with this.
All right, cool.
Cool. Thank you, everybody. I'm stopping the recording. Oh wait, we've got to do our little group photo.
Oh wait.